So in this first topic, I guess, of theories, we're going to have a look at Bronfenbrenners ecological systems theory. And this is a great theory for educators because it's such a good way of getting people to think of how complicated human development is. It's also something that I'll be encouraging you to use throughout the duration of this course in your thinking, and how different aspects of child development and relationships actually interconnect. People often want really simple answers to really complex questions like, why do children bully others? Or why do teenagers choose to do drugs? Now, if there was one reason why people chose to bully others or why they chose to do drugs, then we would have solved that problem by now. So, this clearly leads to the thinking that there is much more complicated answers, which will show that there will be different reasons for different people in these different situations. So that's where this theory comes in, Bronfenbrenners Theory of Ecological Systems. It helps us to think about the different kinds of influences on human behaviour, and in turn consider how these influences might be causing pressure on or might be supporting an individual in certain behaviours or success attributes. The idea behind Bronfenbrenners theory is that it is a system of layers. So you can see that in the diagram we've got there. It doesn't 100% accurate depict it, but you can see that there are concentric circles, and imagine that these are kind of like 3D layers that build up and interact with each other. So what we start with is a person in the very center of that. And then from here we go on to the more immediate context and then work our way out to the bigger picture. So in the middle we have the individual and things that relate specifically to them, such as their age, their gender, their personality, do they have any special needs, etc. So things specifically related to them. Now I want you to think about yourself for a moment and what you in the centre of this model might look like. At the end of this section of the lecture, I'll be getting you to complete this map of your own ecological system. So pay attention so that you're thinking what might fit for you where. In fact, actually, it might be even more relevant if you download that sheet now, and then as we go through the different parts of the system, you complete it. So take a moment just to download that. It says there in task 2. So download that worksheet and have it there, and we'll pause as we go through. Just pause this now if you need to grab that. So next we get to what is usually listed as the first level of this theory, and this is the microsystem. The microsystem refers to your immediate environments. Now for a child, this could be their school, their peer group, or their family. Who do they interact with, and what is their relationship with those people? So maybe questions like, do they have supportive teachers? Or is the parent feeling stressed out by money? Are their parents fighting? Is the child being bullied at school? And so on. Then for adults, your microsystem might include your job, maybe your study here at Avondale, maybe even this class, or the place where you live, etc. So what I would like you to do now is pause this video, grab that first worksheet for task 2 if you haven't already got it. This is a blank diagram of Bronfenbrenners ecological system theory. And I want you to take 2 to 3 minutes to fill in your personal information and your microsystem. Okay, so firstly fill in you at the center, who you are, your age, your gender, your personality, any special characteristics or needs you have. And then move out to that microsystem and fill in, first of all, label that second ring as your microsystem so you know what it is, and then you can add those relevant aspects of your life. Please don't just skip doing this, as this is part of the processing and understanding and applying of the learning. So pause now and fill that. The next part of the system is the mesosystem. So the next concentric circle out you can label as mesosystem. This is not that clearly defined in our diagrams in terms of its role. The mesosystem is the interactions and relationships between your microsystems. So for a child, for example, this might be the relationship between family and school. Do the parents get along well with the teacher? Do they trust the teacher? How much of this does the child pick up on or sense? And remember, children of all ages pick up on a lot more than we think they do. Other things in this space might be, does the child feel comfortable going to the teacher if there is a problem? Or it might be relationships between where the child lives and their family. Do they live in an unsafe area? And how does this affect the rules that their parents are setting for them? Okay, so that's the mesosystem. And as you can appreciate, each of these layers we could probably discuss in depth for a long time, and each would vary depending on a specific person or child. So before we move on to the next area of Bronfenbrenners ecological systems theory, pause this video and on your own map that you have started, fill in some of your own mesosystem interactions. You may choose to use double-sided arrows to show pull and push interactions between these areas. You will also find that some relationships pull or push stronger than others and hence have more influence over the individual in the middle. These will be flexible and change over time. You may also note that some are constant in their interactions while others may be intermittent, only influencing things from time to time. So pause now and think about your own mesosystem and put some arrows and some comments there on that sheet. Right, let's move to the next concentric circle out, or the next layer. This is the exosystem. So once again, just take a moment to write exosystem onto that circle so you can remember what it is. This gets a little more complicated. This is now a link between two settings. One is that you, or the child who is in the centre, has an immediate role in, and the other is an area that you, or in the case of a child, they don't actually have any direct contact with. So in the case of parents with school-age children, it might be the parent's job and the relationship with the child's school. So if the parents have really fluctuating work hours, or they have to work with the inclusion of travel time, or have to be away very long hours, then the child is not directly involved with the parent's workplace, but this will affect things like whether the parents are able to volunteer in the kids' school or attend special events during the day at school. So thinking about this for your context, NESA, the Education System for New South Wales, it speaks into the running of our courses here in education at Avondale. And it's an example of an exosystem for you because they are not directly in contact with you, but they are making decisions and giving directives that influence and impact on your thought and your functioning here at Avondale through the running of our units and the planning of your learning grids for your course. Okay, you've never met them, but they have a strong influence over your day-to-day activities here at Avondale. Another example of an exosystem for you would be Avondale University College Board, who, though you've likely not met any of them, influence your journey here through decisions over tuition and fees, who they hire, and university policies, etc. So that's your exosystem. Take a moment to think about these and add those examples that I've given to your own systems map and see if you can think of any others. These may be related to your work environment if you are also working while studying. So remember that this step of applying is helping you process the learning, so please do pause here for 2 to 3 minutes and write that onto your map. So next we move on to the microsystem of the ecological systems theory. And this is the larger social and cultural context. So this could be Australian culture, but as that is not one monolithic culture, we can also talk about the culture, say, of a religious group or urban versus rural areas, maybe even gender and sex, fits into this concept of the microsystems. We can look around at the broad social context, such as countries' political climates or current social issues influencing social interaction. Something that's very pertinent right now and is impacting on and through many levels of individuals' ecological systems is the concept of coronavirus and how that is influencing these social interactions and culture. So don't forget to add that where it's relevant. So take that moment now to fill in this area on your systems map. Spend 2 to 3 minutes thinking about what fits here and for you and how it pulls and pushes you through other areas of interaction. So finally, just to make things more complex, outside, which is in this image sort of the 3D aspect layer, we have the chronosystem. And this has to do with the role of time. So part of this relates to when events occur in a person's life. For example, we could talk about how people are typically affected by becoming parents. But once again, these are very different depending on whether someone becomes a parent for the first time at age 17 or 27 or 37. The other element of the chronosystem is the larger historical context. So for example, someone who is in their 40s today might have a different view about their money and different spending habits when compared to what today's 20-year-olds will do when they reach their 40s. And that's all influenced by what's going on in the world, the influences over time, the influences, over the lifespan. This will also be because of things such as general rising cost of living, expectations of planning for retirement, all of those sorts of things. So now it's your turn to apply again. Think about your own chronosystem and what might be affecting you through time and historical context, and add that to your personal systems map. Give yourself about 1 to 2 minutes to do this. So we have these different aspects of the system, but it is important to remember that there is not always a nice clear division between one layer and the next. So as an example, let's look at a student who might be starting at Avondale this year as a first year in education, and we can think about what might affect their study area and chances of success. On the first level, the personal level, we need to consider things such as their personality, their age, their gender, and their own intelligence, and so on. At the microsystem, we need to look at what course options and electives are available in their areas of interest at Avondale, and whether they can actually financially afford to do what they want to do. But then we have to look at the larger context. So at the level of the mesosystem, they might want to see whether their family or employer, assuming that they have a job, are supportive of them coming to study. If their employer is constantly changing their work hours, then they might be less likely to succeed. If they have a family with children they have to share the main responsibilities for, then this might also pose challenges to their time management and focus, regardless of their intelligence or their motivation. At the ecosystem level, we might look at whether the government has given any assistance for students choosing to study in this given area, and if so, can this student access it? The macrosystem is that larger cultural context. So we would want to know if this person's cultural or subcultural group views education as something worthwhile. We would also have to consider gender roles and how they play out in these different cultural groupings. Finally, we'd have to look at the chronosystem. Is this student attending Avondale at age 19 or at age 49? And is this student current, as in 2020, or is it a case study from many years ago in the 1950s? All things to consider if we want to look at this student and find out how we can help them best. I hope that this has given you a bit of a better understanding about Bronfenbrenners theory and how we as teachers can use it to gain insight into our students and what might be the pull and push factors influencing their development and relationships. As we continue through this subject, I want you to keep this system in mind so that you're always considering on multiple levels how we can best influence our students' eyes to shine and so we can best create moments of learning success for our students. Right now, I want you to switch mindset for a moment. You have created your own personal ecological systems theory map as we went through, which was based on yourself. But now I want you to step into the role of teacher and think about your students. In particular, I want you to think about the student in the image you selected in our first lecture. I'm sorry that you don't have them there in front of you, but hopefully you should be able to visualize it enough and remember back to last week. In task 3, you will see that you can download another sheet. This time I want you to fill in the ecological systems map for your student based on your professional opinions and understanding as an educator. Of course, there will be gaps that you may not be able to fill in, but this is the point. As teachers, we need to be detectives as well. So once you have filled in all that you can think you can, and really give it some thought, spend 5, 6, 7 minutes on it, then I want you to write a list of the particular areas that you might wish to do some more detective work in order to best support and assist this student on their journey to learning success. Once you've completed this sheet, you will need to take a screenshot of it, or if you've done it electronically, save it and then you can upload that to the Padlet that's below. To upload this, click anywhere in a blank spot or click on the plus button and a post box should appear. Type your name into the title section of the post and then use the upload button at the bottom of the posting box to upload your image or file of this completed sheet for your student. Once you have done this, continue on to the next chapter of this lecture.